Oh, yeah, thank you. That was one of the last.
Yeah. Tell your aunt, it was like, have something. that you can
Not be a pirate ship.
Yeah, that's, yeah, the notice. But yeah, sure, sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Hello, you have extra agenda for one, I can grab it. Sure. Yeah, yeah, they're right. Oh, up there. Sorry. There used to be a little table right there and I would put it there, but it's back there, I didn't do it.
All right.
Forward.
Yeah, you guys are all yakking away over
Apologies, Senor President.
All right, let's call this meeting to order and do roll call. Roger, be absent. Jessica,
Present.
Mike. Here. Mark.
Here.
Patrick, I believe is gonna be absent.
Right.
Paul
Not here.
and Jacob. Here. All right, now let's get minutes approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 2nd meeting minutes.
Have first and second. And a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Keep it. The board reports.
Okay, we have our financial report. For our balances through the end of May 31st in the general account. Ending cash is 8,000. I think it says 765.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to pull these out. I can't read it anymore. In Granger, it is 300,000. Wow, I can't talk. $376,914 with a deposit in transit of 56,475. In Wyatt, it's $101,094 with a deposit in transit of $20,332. Lawton is 56,928 with a deposit in transit of 4,101. And Carriage Hills is $192,936. We also have our monthly claim approval form. Has the amount of $62,187.50. Couple things I would just note real quick. We did. One of our customers in Granger we had discovered the error in the billing and that got corrected and they paid their account in full, so. It was our creditor in Har, the new building, so they are current now.
Okay.
We do have, working with the site that is at the northwest corner of State Road 23. I've been coordinating back and forth with them. They've got their connection fee information, what their monthly usage is going to be. They're still under construction. I think they are anticipating that they're gonna go into operation probably September-ish or so before they'll be a full paying customer, but they are actually connecting. So there's two parcel lots. Their building crosses the lot line, so in essence, it creates it as one building lot, but there are multiple structures on those building lots, so they are connecting both of the structures. So the original, kind of I'd say it's a farmhouse, but the original house, the insurance building house will be connected to sewer. And also then the new construction, the expanded construction right there will be connected to sewer, so they'll be now a full paying customer. And I know Kevin has been corresponding with, there's a couple other, we got the sites at that northwest site at Anderson and Bittersweet. We just gotta look into to give them what their financial information is gonna be for usage and connection fee. And then oddly enough, Chris Merrill has contacted to contact properties, and I have a feeling it's the same addresses that are in this, so.
It's like Rick Briney called. We can do it now. We have to go later.
We can do it now, that's fine.
So we'd had this issue
Do a motion.
with. You want to stop? You want to stop?
We could probably, yeah. we'll probably
Let's do it.
Okay. Trying to think if there was anything else I just wanted to note. Transactions that have gone on the past month. I think that's what. So, if we have approval of our monthly claim form for $62,187.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion and I need a second. Second. I got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I was just gonna give an update. George has been corresponding with Anka's attorney and our payment for the scrubber building is in the board's hands right now. I can't remember when they said the next board meeting was, but. And then they said something about issuing a check. Again, if it's easier to just credit our account, I'd be fine with that, but
I have told
whatever they do is what they do.
Take the money, how will we get?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll take the money for sure. Really, the only part that he actually confirmed, the only part in the board's hands now is the excess. If you recall, this is that situation where Asbury gave us a do not exceed amount. Montauk approved the do not exceed amount, and then they exceeded it. I understand why they exceeded it. I think actually when they got out there, Montauk officials told them, no, not there, go all the way over there to make sure that we don't have another problem. So there was additional pipe and some other things. So it's before their board's hands. I think they're gonna approve it. He hasn't given me any reason why they're not gonna approve it. But he even confirmed in the last email, it's not the total amount. We're getting something from Montauk. It's whether or not the board wants to approve it.
And then our damage claim for the crash that occurred at the northeast corner of Bittersweet in 23, or not Bittersweet, sorry, Bittersweet and Anderson, where our grinder, that has been gone into insurance and now they're talking back and forth, so. They're just waiting to hear back. There was an open claim, so there's potentially ability to recover costs. It's just, again, what form that
It'll be
will
the
come in.
outcome. Because they did turn it into Progressive. Progressive was the driver's carrier.
No, the owner's carrier, the driver.
Yeah, the driver was actually not borrowed the car or whatever, but Progressive has the file set up and was going to, had contacted, I don't know.
We-
And this was all
Yeah,
done
they
8
did
months
too,
ago,
wasn't
so
it?
No, it wasn't.
when they didn't get a return call from, we don't know who, they closed the file, so.
But to be fair, I'm not sure if that thing was clearly marked as district property. I saw some photographs. It was my fault. Jessica had actually sent the police report pretty early on. It just slipped through my email cracks, but, I think we're close to getting, and I sent kind of a rougher email to the insurance agent today saying, look, this isn't. You guys figured out Progressive.
Actually, they could, in theory, if you don't turn your claims in within a period, you could end up with
It's
no.
statute of limitations. Courts have found it's a statute of limitations. So there's no skin off their back. They have 2 years to go after Progressive for subrogation.
They're safe. Though, if they pay it and they go after them, we'll just have, we'll be eating the deductible until they collect it.
But I think we should have a policy of the board to report accidents sooner than 8 months after they.
They should be immediate, because then you don't have this little interrupt thing. But, yeah, that will. The nice thing is, we're gonna get paid from somebody. Our carrier's gonna pay less a deductible, get it from Progressive, and it sends the deductible money back, or Progressive can just write a money back.
Okay.
Pretty clear you hit it.
Yeah, I think it's, I
No,
think
but
it's
so, that's there.
for what it is. The kid was out for a joyride, missed the turn.
It happens. We've all done it.
You guys want to follow back now on Merrill Properties?
Yeah, because we're gonna wander into, because I'm gonna mess this agenda up anyway, so I'll let you start with that.
Per the last meeting and our conversation with Jessica, we drafted the letter that you have in front of you, which is a cease and desist to Merrill Realty and Mark Merrill to stop discharging. He won't stop discharging, obviously, but I'd like to get his attention. I think this is repeated behavior. There are, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different individual addresses on either Sandy Drive or Princess Way or Heather Park Drive, all in Granger, that he's illegally connected to. We drafted this letter probably about 2 weeks ago, and then I sat on it because we were thinking about, if you'll notice, I attach an order to cease and desist as well that I'd like Don to sign. I think this is something new for the district. I don't think you guys have done it in the past. But I think this is something that we should do here. It's in line with the ordinance you've passed. And I feel it's more official, right? The letter comes from the lawyer, but the order comes from this body, which has the ultimate authority. So that's why that extra step. And again, because I think that if Mr. Merrill wasn't going to be cooperative, we were just, we were going to continue to push this to make him uncover. And I'm not sure the terms yet, because I see Kevin's online and Kevin can step in here on this next bit. A few days ago, I got something from from Jessica that came, I believe, from
I
Kevin,
was just trying to find it.
that it was yesterday. So it looks like yesterday Kevin spoke with a Rick Briney of RB Trucking. He is currently working on 3 new connections in Granger. 3 of those addresses match, I believe, addresses in my letter, except for maybe 12525.
2 of them are in here.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 are in here as existing construction. I don't know what RB Trucking's position is in this.
He's the
Uh,
excavator.
Okay, so Kevin, can you step in and tell us how this new call happened, and was it just out of the blue?
I don't know if he contacted someone with the county, but they wouldn't give him a permit. And so he said they told him that
Whoops.
he had to reach out to us first.
Okay.
So he emailed and said, give me a call. So I called him right away, and he went line by line over the addresses that he wanted to connect. But one of the things that was interesting in our conversation was I asked him about the grinder stations, and he said, well, they were just going to buy whatever. And I said, well, if you buy whatever, then you own it forever and you maintain it forever. But if you purchase the grinder station from the district, then the district will maintain it forever. And so he wasn't aware of that, obviously, because every other time that they've done these connections, they're just flying by the seat of their pants, buying a grinder, connecting it, and doing whatever. So he was going to go back to it's Chris Merrill, right? And tell him that, obviously to Rick, he said I think it makes more sense too that the district should own the grinder and maintain it in perpetuity versus the property owner. So it made sense to him. They were going to discuss it, and I think that's kind of where we left it.
Do we feel that it is RB Trucking advising these people on making these connections?
I
That's the first time
I-
I've heard this name.
I think that I mean, obviously, I think RB Trucking, this excavator, he's the one that did the other connections, I believe. And I talked to Dan Fox about it, and Dan believes that they always knew that they could purchase the grinders from the district, but that Merrill just didn't want to spend that much money on it.
Well, and technically, he doesn't have to buy it from us, he just has to buy the spec grinder.
Grinder, yeah.
He can buy it from anybody he wants to.
We've asked him for an explanation of what happened, and then we threatened him with a $2,500 per day violation. And that's to Merrill Realty because they're the owner of the property. I might copy this Rick Briney. We've got his email address now. So we might copy him just so he knows that he's spinning up a fight. We'll go from there. But I noticed this. I think 12525 is, if it's new construction and it hasn't yet connected, that doesn't need to be on my list, correct?
That's correct. I think there's another email chain going around about that property.
That was not a Chris Monroe property.
That's not a Chris Merrill property.
And they have reached out prior and trying to
And
get.
Right.
They were working through JPR, and there's
Yes.
a chain out there regarding that specific property.
Awesome. So we will update the letter. I'm gonna update it with this information. I'm glad we didn't send it because this is new stuff coming to light, but I may even call Rick Briney myself to see how this.
Well, and I'm curious, how did he preface the conversation as far as that they want to connect?
He said they have 3 properties to connect, but you're correct. I feel like they've already done something.
Well, I know they have done excavation.
Yes, I believe
Put it
that
that way.
too. And the way he was talking, it's like they may have, I don't know to what extent they could already be connected, or if they've already done, if these connections already exist. That's what I was trying to feel out as well. Because the way he made it sound, he's just going in to install grinder pumps and decommission the septic tanks. And he acted like the laterals were or the connection to the main was already made.
I'd have to look at our plans on some of the properties that may be accurate, but not all. Because they were deferred properties and we didn't install laterals on most of the deferred properties.
So these properties that have connected, did they have septics at one time?
Yes,
So they should have abandoned the septics?
I'll say most of them should, yes, because they do have existing buildings. Not all, I think one of his lots would have been a vacant lot. So it probably didn't, but the
But these
others,
5 here, or 4 of the 5 should.
I think so, yes.
Check, to see if that's in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, They'll have to
And
abandon.
the
You want
addresses
me to
I
send
gave,
You have the letter, so you have.
I gave George was based on going out there and physically seeing what looked like someone had been doing work. So it doesn't mean they did connect, but there was a hole dug to do something.
There's more to be done here, but we're getting it done. So I'd appreciate, Don, if you'd sign the order. I'm gonna change the letter and I will email.
You want this guy?
Yeah.
So what if they don't cease?
They don't cease, then we go up and cease them for them. Send them a bill, and sue them,
Motion
put
and
liens
all
on their
that stuff.
property, do all sorts of nasty stuff.
Well, that's, I was wondering if we go to court or if we just go in there and start. Putting
I
it
mean,
out there,
we
putting
can
it-
go in there and tear it out, but that's gonna cost money, right? So we will go in and do that if we need to.
Layers are cheaper.
And then, well, I mean, we could honestly, at some point, it will be tearing it out. Going to court to get them to reimburse, they can start over.
I mean, you can also
Mhm.
assess the fines like you were saying, and then and
$2,500 a day. It'll add
then
up
put a
well,
lien on them for that amount.
and then we leave out the properties. And their lender will get involved. It'll be difficult on them.
I mean, it goes to their tax bill and they have to pay.
I mean, it's like we said last time. It's like climbing the pole and connecting to Comcast without telling Comcast.
That's a big,
That's kind of, yeah, that's illegal.
Stuff.
That's why I just thought it curious when Kevin had sent the email that saying they want to connect. Kind of looks like they already did, but maybe they did. Maybe they were digging and doing exploratory excavation
Yeah.
to see what it was going to take to make the connection.
Let's
that's
see
not
what
do that, they dug a hole.
Do those grinder stations have their own electric meter? Or are they
So-
they tied into the property
The
itself?
district ones do, yes. That's how we are owning and operating them, is there was a whole separate installation. There are a few customers, and they were after the fact that they did decide they didn't want the district owned and operate it. They wanted it
We need to.
to be their responsibility. It's on their own meter. It's close to
I
their
mean, you
house,
could
so.
motion, but
it's the
I
town
think it's
owners.
within your.
So if the meters
You know what I
are,
mean? It's just, yeah.
if the pumps are operational, meters should be running.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, you want that? Don't talk to me.
Yeah. I think
She knows. me.
one of the prior properties that Chris had connected, he did his own. So we weren't paying the.
We want to get the Hess conversation. Right. This time. Yeah. The third action item that I was tasked with last month was the Hess property. Kevin and I have spoken. I've spoken with Mr. Hess. He is very agitated about the situation. I explained to Mr. Hess a couple of key facts. Number one, government authority works as an authority over him, and he is, we have the authority to require him to connect. I didn't have all of the facts. We've been struggling a little bit with some paperwork on that. I would like to have original packet or duplicates of what was sent to him originally. Mark is going to send me the full health department file on the property. His allegation to me when I spoke with him was, we've never abandoned our septic. We've never connected to your sewer system. Why should we have to pay? Knowing that there were exemptions in that sub-district, I wasn't prepared to tell him, oh, because we said you had to. It could have been that he was on an exemption, but Jessica has since looked and not found him on any exemption list. So we're putting together a packet and I will send him a letter. And it will be a letter that basically says this isn't our problem. He did threaten council. He was pretty spun up. So it could be council. And Kevin, I'm assuming he hasn't gotten any less agitated.
He just called the one time and he just was checking to see the status of of his refund.
And that's what he says. He speaks of it as if it's a guarantee, right? Where's my refund? You know, and then as I said earlier, he had this idea that because his house was sold, the county and recorded somewhere with the recorder's office, that everyone in the county should have taken notice of that. So,
Well, got nothing better to do.
So what is the refund that he's due?
at 9,000. Kevin, what's the total?
Oh. Well, that's I guess that depends on which way you want to look at it. Are you talking about the refund after he sold it? He's taken it a step further according, to this conversation, like he should have never paid anything at all. But if you were just looking at when he sold the property, it's about $5,000.
Yeah, but I think his new claim is, I shouldn't have been paying ever.
Yes.
So,
Actually, it doesn't really. But to get him the paperwork.
But I need to get him, I need to show
Show
him.
documents, so he's got something to take to his lawyer.
Kevin, do you have the record of what's been paid?
Oh, absolutely.
Historical?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause that's, I mean, they paid from the beginning. They've been paying from day one. So,
Yeah, would you send me a full statement of their account?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, what
I mean,
What the
so
heck?
it'll be, so it goes across, when JPR did the billing, I
Yes.
can kind of break it down for you and I'll,
but I mean, I have his original customer number as a full paying customer, so.
yeah.
that-
I just want to verify that they've been paying since day one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I guess that was what? 2012 we started.
2012.
2012.
Granger.
2012. So it's 12 years he's been paying this bill, and suddenly he's like, I want all my money back. I shouldn't have been paying this.
Well, his wife died,
I understand
and I
that.
think he started unpacking the finances.
The other side of it is I've tried to call the new owner. I've had no
Yeah.
communication with them. What do we tell them at this point if I do talk to them?
Tell them the same thing that we tell Mr. Hess, that they are required to connect, and if they do not connect, that their septic system is illegal. They have a whole nother set of problems that we were discussing before we
Yeah.
went into public meeting that, they could legitimately have a concern with their inspection, the title company. I mean, somebody
Absolutely.
should have told them in 2019 when they sold the house that the septic system was not in, I call it illegal or not in conformance. But if we told them they had to connect, and they stayed on septic, and then they sold the house, septic inspector should have told them that septic system was not
Absolutely.
allowable.
And the inspector probably didn't have a clue.
that
No
I-
idea.
Do we have their contact information or where now they are being billed? Did you switch the account?
I think so. And I looked up, I've got a source to find phone numbers. I've looked up phone numbers, I've left voicemails, but maybe I don't have the right number. So I
We
will,
are we're building the property now.
yes.
But they're not paying
I do not believe they are. So
and has stopped paying.
Hess stopped paying in February.
Because at some point, we can always, file a lien, send them a lien notice that, hey, you're gonna get a lien, and that'll probably get their attention.
Definitely.
It'll take.
I think those are my three, actually. I have one new one, but I can bring it up.
We got new business for you. So I'm gonna break from the agenda also. It's Abby, our guest.
Yes.
So we're gonna slip you in, so you don't have to stay here till 7 o'clock.
Great.
So I sit on a committee of several people that have been working on the St. Joe County Comprehensive Plan, and it broke it down into several different categories, and one was utilities. And we had a meeting here last month talking about goals and recommendations for utilities. And I think Abby sent the board that section. And one of the concerns that I had, but I thought more importantly, that the district needs to be aware of what that comprehensive plan is suggesting in regards to, we all would love sewer, but that's probably not gonna happen. We don't like the overdependence upon single-use septic systems, but then there was a mention of encouraging cluster septic systems. The concern I had then is if you encourage cluster septic systems, who are ultimately gonna be responsible for the maintenance? We don't need another Anderson Lake who would love to have us take over their system because they have several people that don't wanna pay towards the
Right.
maintenance of that.
And you've got, what's the other one over by Osceola? Heather Lake?
Other lakes, yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 people. So we would have to, I would say it makes sense if it's outside the reach of sewer in this day. If you put this system, if you put that subdivision together with a central collection, and it's built right, it's built right specs, and we take it from that point, there's enough people. At some point, when sewer does wander out there, it makes it so much cheaper for us to go South Bend, hook us up, Mishawaka, God, hook us up.
Well, and I agree with that. I guess it then says that we gotta come up with specs and requirements and whatnot to
Yeah.
facilitate that.
Yep.
And the developer's gonna be responsible for that until maybe that neighborhood is fully developed or that commercial.
Very much probably along the lines of what we did with Dave Weiss and Autumn Woods. He puts it in, Audubon Woods, he puts it in, dedicates it over, and there's an availability fee that's tied to those lots. You know, to take care of paying for, you know, the little bit of maintenance that might be there with that, you know, hardly anybody actually using it and ramps up as it goes. That would probably be the place to start looking at, okay, let's take it from here and go, what is different, because it's gonna be, it's like you got your baby treatment plant base.
Right.
But the nice thing is that if, you know, 50 years from now, sewer wanders by the front of that, it's
Right.
an easy hookup.
Right.
And it's not, you're not tearing up the whole neighborhood and all
Right.
the infrastructure.
I mean, I'm in favor of it as long as we have upfront some
This
requirements.
is what it takes now.
That's it. But that's gotta be formalized. I mean, not so much for the comprehensive plan, but ultimately,
Ultimately,
somewhere, somehow, a developer needs to get in contact with the regional water and sewer district, find out what those requirements are and how that all is going to play out.
so
Well, we have one, I heard this morning that's gonna be proposed, a 64 bedroom cluster system.
64 bedrooms, 64 houses.
64 bed, so we rate them by number of bedrooms, and so like at the Heather
A
Lake,
big house.
so I think at Heather Lake, it was maybe 30 something, but then somebody built a couple 4 bedroom houses, so that meant the later houses could only be 2 bedrooms. Because there wasn't enough capacity in the cluster.
Yeah.
But I think it's Dustin Brown that's proposing a 64 bedroom cluster system.
Well, and I would say,
Is it within the county? Is it within the district's boundaries?
Is that the one that we're calling the ranch?
I don't know yet. I don't know all the details. I
no,
just,
and that's the other side of it, is that the,
so that-
you would have the developer would be obligated to not only build it to our specs, pay for it, but he would also have to go through the cost of forming the district, the legal, and all the accounting analysis, all that's gonna be a part. That's what made Heather Lakes impossible. There's only 6 houses.
Right.
To bear what might be 20-some thousand dollars worth of legal and such to create a district.
Where is that approximate location for that development?
If it's the one that we're thinking of, they also just got a variance for private roads that we recommended against, and it was a skin of the teeth vote. Like a 4-2. And Sky's making them build everything,
They're still a minimum standard, they have to build it.
yeah, but also not letting them discharge it to anything public. Like, he's like, if you want it private, you have to do everything on site.
And then they're gonna have to maintain them forever. So
Who's giving this?
Is this in Granger or?
Let me see if I can find that's the only one that I know Dustin Brown's doing.
I'm just kidding, right?
We call it the ranch because it's like, it's supposed to be like what they have out west,
out west.
like Idaho or Montana style houses.
Logs.
Yeah, a stone. wall.
It's like Yellowstone. That's,
So what, I'm Abby, I'm the plan director. I know most of you, not everyone though. So, what's in front of you are the goals and recommendations, just in outline form. There are narratives, and I would say short narratives, because what we've done over the last several months is just cut down material within the plan, but we have short descriptions, I'll say, that go with each of these. And the goal, like Mark said, this is for utilities specifically. Mark has been serving on the task force for the comprehensive plan over the course of the project. And the goal that I think would be helpful to have you all weigh on is, goal 3 would be the top of the, I guess, 1, 2, 3, third page, reduce overall dependence on the on-site wastewater septic systems. Brett participated in like the working group for utilities, and we had like, the language has evolved over time. We've had to make it more general. And this is where we are now in the current draft. So at one point, there were folks within the group pushing for specific years, specific targets, but we just went the way of making it more general, reduce overall dependence on on-site wastewater septic systems. And then there's specific recommendations under this goal. Nothing is changed from what I gave you just now. I did write a couple of minor edits that have been made since I sent this to you last week. And if Mike is saying there might be concerns with this recommendation or with the language, or it needs to be worded differently, that's why I'm here today. This is like the opportunity. We're in the process of finalizing everything now to go out for public comment. So now is the time if you would like any changes, or even if you really disagree with a recommendation, please let me know and we can remove it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not opposed to the recommendation, but it just brought up the 2 or 3 neighborhoods that have those issues. So it just needs to be something, because it seems like a lot of times the district finds out about things after the fact. And then we try to play catch up, and unfortunately that doesn't work. So
well, it also seems to kind of at least contradict historically guidance from the health department on clusters. I mean, again, it wasn't that you couldn't use a cluster system, but it really wasn't the most preferred option. To go from not being a preferred option to now being endorsed in the plan seems a pretty large kind of turnaround there. And I don't know if that's still, if the health department still has that position where they're still kind of about cluster systems, or.
Well, I mean, that was leadership of the past. We're open to anything.
Okay.
but I'm assuming it's more about build it right and who's gonna maintain it forever.
Well, that's part of it. It's just
Right.
that's my
being
biggest,
able
That's
to
the, who's gonna
that's
maintain
my
it.
biggest concern.
collect the fees and make sure that everyone's paying and it's being maintained properly.
Well, and it's also then, what does higher density development mean? Because you can interpret that in a couple of different ways. Because it's higher density development, we're talking more like multi-use, multi-tenant type developments, or are we talking it's a 400 lot subdivision that's high density, or, you
I
know.
would say your lot size is gonna
Yeah.
dictate it probably.
Yeah.
I would use lot size, that's the easiest.
Because
If it's,
I don't,
if it's a horse farm, like setup where everybody's got 10 acres, you don't have to worry about it.
right.
If it's a Alan Edwin coming in and put, 700 houses in 6 acres, well, that's pretty.
Well, and then also it can be used for multifamily possibly, and it also
yeah.
can be used for commercial. I mean,
I would
So-
think it's gonna take a kind of a thought process and a partnership between the health department going, we're open to it, but this is what we want to see happen, and and then us going, yep, and this is our spec for it being built.
Well, and if it's whether or not it's just then the regional water and sewer district is going to be the owner and operator of cluster systems, or if we're going to allow 50 different owner operators that have to be managed by somebody.
That would probably take a county ordinance to dictate how that worked. Or would the health department?
Well,
No,
you
not
have it?
necessarily,
No.
because
You
that's,
guys are an autonomous body. You are enabled.
Oh, we could basically say, you're not doing a cluster in this county without us.
But that's-
Sooner or later,
Wow.
right, yeah. You guys.
I'm feeling more powerful already.
Well, it's more because since the district is countywide.
Yeah.
And this is what he was kind of asking a little bit offline, and I'm not exactly sure what, I almost treat it like a chicken and the egg, what's coming first.
Right.
We have a health department, there's Indiana code that talks about on-site septics, but at the end of the day, when there's a new property being developed, who has the authority to dictate,
If
can
it's
it be an
within your
on-site
jurisdictional
septic,
map,
or does it have to be something that the district says it's what we allow?
it's
Being that
within
we're
your
district-wide.
If it's within your jurisdictional map, you make that decision. The health department is an agency of the county. You are an agency of the state. You are empowered by state statute.
So in theory, a development can't decide they want to use a cluster system without asking us first.
If you don't want a cluster system in you could decide that Granger doesn't need a cluster system, that what you need is more flow through the Ontawa pipe, right? The Ontawa pipe struggles with flow. You've got scrubbers in there because you don't have enough flow. You could literally go, we don't want to maintain a scrubber system. And I believe that your enacting ordinance prioritizes cooperation with existing
does.
utilities
Yes.
over new septics. I believe that where you can logically connect to an existing utility, you should.
Yeah, there's no question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so. I
But they
think
have to say yes. It's up to them to say
As long
yes.
as they have capacity.
That's right.
And the
You're
rules.
100% right. And if they tell you they don't have
I
capacity,
mean,
then you go back to the next.
we don't have
best
the
option.
volume in Granger, and you're right, that's why you have to use scrubbers. But if I decided to have my development drop its cluster septic system and move everything to the pipe in front of me, I've already been told we don't have the capacity to handle it.
That should be out there because
I don't-
it's already sized with your development line.
It's, Brett said it was 2-inch lines, so it wouldn't handle it. I mean, I thought that was kind of a mistake, but I don't want to get off track. I think the main thing is one of the concerns I had is I'm not opposed to it, but we just have to have the structure right. And that isn't really so much that is what's needed in the comprehensive study. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that we're in agreement, because I was concerned from the health department, and I knew Mark would want to echo in our field. But then, if this is gonna go through, and this is gonna be one of the recommendations, then we need to set up parameters and requirements and all the above. Because this is the way that things are gonna get developed, because there's no way you're gonna get sewer out to areas of development.
Can I read what, like, description we have for you all? Because I apologize, you don't have the full narratives. It says encouraging cluster septic systems offers an alternative wastewater solution for areas where municipal treatment is not feasible. St. Joe County should work with the St. Joe County Regional Water and Sewer District to effectively manage septic systems and seek funding opportunities for implementation. But maybe it needs to be rewritten to say in consultation with the health department, encourage cluster septic systems where appropriate or something. I can rewrite it and send it, circulate it to you all.
Well, they have to be reviewed by, like, I think Dustin's project is at the state right now. And so the state has to sign off on the cluster system before we get it. And we usually don't go against the state on this kind of stuff. So if the state approves it, then we.
But in theory, what we're saying is they shouldn't even have a cluster system being reviewed by the state because no one's even come to the district to see whether or not it would exist. That's,
I don't think
It's
anybody
a-
knows
it's a-
they have to come
It's
to
a
the
sewer,
district.
it's a
Well,
sewage,
Just like the
sewage
extension
collection.
from out to Potato Creek, they didn't know North
Right,
Liberty had.
I
to
mean,
know.
that's, I guess, the frustration. We're always finding out about things after the fact. We're
somebody probably ought to let Justin.
We're
know.
supposedly a
Probably
county
with us.
function, but yet we're not.
Or we
Now,
may
maybe
take it
we
over.
finally have solved that at the building
Maybe.
department,
It was a bit-
where it can be looked
Probably
at, but we're
developers.
still not part of that equation when it comes to review.
it's in area plans
I could
ordinance.
get my money
It's in the
back.
development ordinance to consult the regional water and sewer district.
Have them call Benny Mills.
It is.
The area plan doesn't get
Voting us.
every single.
No, they don't.
System.
Well, 'cause especially with Potato Creek, that was
Just
from
collect all the
town.
money and leave town.
Well, there's that.
But still the town
It's in Key
is
West.
heard through area plan. North Liberty comes back.
To the area.
Yeah, and I apologize if there's been an oversight of any kind. Do you all receive like the agendas Or, I mean, is anybody from the district notified?
You guys like to
That's,
keep us in the
I mean,
dark.
that's a change we could easily make, putting, I don't know who would want, but notifications for plat committee or, plan review notifications like you used to get with you.
We are getting, so right now I am receiving the emails from Zach at the building department when there is a plan review through that system. I'm receiving all of those now.
Mark, is the subdivision that you're referencing on Adams Road, the one that touches the Anderson Road, the vacant Anderson Road property?
You're talking about the one that crushed my neighborhood. They run a cluster?
I don't know if that's what. the
They
thing-
A
really,
cluster?
I'm not sure where it's, where the.
No way.
there's no way they can. Good luck.
Well,
I
I mean, they would have land that to actually to not have to do a cluster, but I mean, I would think a cluster is more expensive.
I'm not sure that it's the same one, but that's the subdivision I know.
Yeah, that
One of the
close.
subdivisions Dustin is.
They're close enough, they could tie into us or.
I mean, you have to do feasibility analysis. I wouldn't call them close. I mean, it's probably a mile and a half.
Oh, okay, that's.
And just for those of you that don't know me super well, I'm not here to pressure you to put this in the plan and green light it. All right, I think.
So you wouldn't have much luck anyway.
This, planning process has been a series of compromises for a lot of things. And I think, you know, there's always the municipal utilities, private septic systems. Is there a third way? And right or wrong, but some people view, I think, cluster as the third way, whether or not it is the magic bullet that. people
Yeah,
want
and,
it to
and
be.
again, if properly done, and the oversight is from the.
Successful.
Yeah, sewer and water district,
The one that,
absolutely.
there's a septic, there's a cluster, I think it was it's out, it's on near County Line Road that way,
East Point.
East Point. They have managed theirs very well. But they, I believe it, Anwar Waste does it now. That's who manages that one, but that one's been managed well for decades. So,
I would-
as opposed to Anderson Road, which has been mismanaged for decades.
I would remind you that you have a sample of what a cluster maintenance system, maintenance and donation agreement would look like in the Pat Matthews super donation agreement, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I think that could easily be changed, but I do think you'd need to revenue it. I don't think that unless you are gonna put the burden on them, if you put the burden on them to maintain their own system, you were robbed before, right?
no, and I think that would be, if I was in their chair, would be my biggest concern is, yeah, these guys are all kumbaya about running it now, but what happens in 20 years where they gotta borrow $500,000 to replace it? Suddenly, they're not gonna be all kumbaya about it anymore. They're gonna be all,
And at that 20-year mark, you would have no authority because it was waived. Right? You said, hey, no problem, it's yours. Now,
so in some respects, I think it's better for the county health department, the folks who are gonna live in this, to have a municipal authority running that. So when it goes down, you get a bond, you fix it, and, you know, you have a rate. And there's no homeowner meeting that turns into a riot. They can just come call us soulless, we're used to.
Pretty sure we have to do that.
I
Of a
think,
cluster system policy.
I think we started that. at one point. But that was that JPR started that, or would it have been Steve and?
Remember who was actually authoring.
I can take a look at the
It might
file
have been
and see if we
three,
have
it
something.
might have been three, but I think we were going down that path because it was at the time where it seemed a few of those systems that need some help with O and M were looking at us, and then those conversations stopped, so I think.
But we just,
We
Yeah,
stopped.
because we didn't have a need, I mean, we didn't have an immediate need.
what's Anderson, who's managing Anderson Road?
I forget the guy's name, but it's one of the, A&R was doing the maintenance and, I forget the guy's name, but one of the residents there.
And at the end of the day, for Anderson Lakes, again, it came down to they didn't wanna pay the fees to have a third party
Right.
own and operate it, so.
Yeah, so you're almost better to get that done up front, so that it's just the way it is.
I mean, it's just like anything else, it's going to be more money. And if they don't wanna pay the additional funds for that additional security, then.
Well,
Stay the
I
way it
guess that was the only reason I wanted it to be brought up, because the developer also needs to understand that it might cost him more upfront to be able to facilitate it, because he's gonna have to do it under the specs and the requirements that
Yes.
the district is gonna want. Because if we're gonna take it over, that's what we want. So I really, again, don't have any problem with it, I just wanted that sentence to be massaged to the point that the district and the health department would have to be.
Cause the other side you run into is where I think how Denny Miller did his, because he put it in for his 6 floor houses. And then when the last lot was sold, it was to be turned over to the little sub homeowner association, and they refused to take it. So.
Right.
Dustin, do you wanna own this thing for the rest of your life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life? Because that's where you could end up. If you get 2 or 3 rambunctious homeowners who don't wanna take this thing back.
Right.
Yes, do you have any language changes that you think would be appropriate?
I think it's vague enough. It gives us a lot of, other than maybe say it should be probably a health department and district
Okay,
coordinating, does that make some sense?
Right.
You know, do we? Is
We
the
really
word
wanna
encourage,
coordinate with these guys?
Encourage through,
is encourage the word, or is it just consider, or
Yes.
is it?
consider through.
that's fine, we've done
Yeah.
that, this is the last 3 years of my life. Support.
I mean, I think it is an available option and it can be considered. as an
Mark
available
knows.
option.
Last 20 years of my life.
Consider through the.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanna, because personally, municipal connections should be encouraged versus any other option, but that's personal opinion.
And I don't
That's why I
disagree with that.
asked.
I don't disagree with that. Encourage is done. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Can I get your all input on the other recommendations under this goal for fun? I know Mark said cluster system.
Sure.
Not the whole thing, just this goal, all right? Specifically, support the regional water and sewer district in addressing wastewater treatment issues in the county. And then just C had come from you, actually. I don't know if the consultant logged onto this in one of the working groups that you were on. But survey the level of interest of resident living in septic dependent subdivisions to connect to municipal water and wastewater utilities. I think it's,
They have interest until they find out what it costs.
well, you had you had made the comment in one of the groups that I wasn't in, but it was told back to me by the consultant. You're like, sometimes we're there and it's like, there's a public health need, but they don't necessarily want it. So,
It's true, I mean,
This
there's
is
an
what-
entire neighborhood that doesn't want municipal water, they wanna continue drinking.
Right. They brought it
The
with
water
them so
they
they
have.
could show us how clear it was. Like, okay. Yeah, I don't know that that's. I don't know that that's really productive.
I think it was more, so it is going to take support from these neighborhoods, the public residents are living here, to get anything actionable done, because of the cost it is going to take to provide either municipal water or municipal sewer, or both, throughout most of the portion of this community.
Yeah, if they're.
And if you have to have that support and buy-in, or these projects are never going to get done. That,
Because it's gonna
that's
be a
where
case of
where I
where-
was coming from, and I mean, cause we already knew with our petitions, we have to have, you know, we want majority of a neighborhood saying that, yes, we want this, before we're gonna start going through the road of identifying how to make it happen and what are the funding solutions, and because at the end of the day, we're still at the same public meeting where, what do you mean I gotta pay $60 a month, or what do you mean I gotta pay $100 a month, or what do you mean I gotta pay this? You have to pay for the service, it's just.
If it's free, they're all for it. It's gonna take the health department to go, look, this water is so bad that it's killing you. So we're going to make you put water in, or people start dropping in the neighborhood and suddenly they show up at the health department going, look, we gotta figure out what's happening. Oh, it's your water. Maybe we
What
should.
you did to you.
Yeah, right.
Well, and that's the struggle. We don't really want to get to the point where it really is affecting them.
Dying.
They're
No.
trying to protect their resources before it's ultimately getting to that point, but.
That's unfortunately probably what it would take.
So I'm gonna keep those two in there, great. The other one, Mark, and this was a suggestion from Brett on a prior goal, but, under the data goal is develop an inventory of septic dependent subdivisions and understand viability to prioritize sewer connections, kind of. It sounded like Brett that you all had already done this. Knowing where the hot spots are.
Yeah, just trying, we have a good idea where they,
We just don't have, you know, like formalize it to a.
Just come out to Claytown.
Yeah,
That's.
yeah, couple of townships.
Yeah,
There's a couple areas.
you're fine if you're out way that way.
Having fun, probably on the lake.
You have enough land and it's,
At least your neighbors are.
well, the wells are pretty deep. South of town, the wells are pretty deep. Mine's 200 some feet down.
Would it be all right to rewrite it based on the conversation, share the narrative via email, send it to everyone on the meeting invite,
Yeah. We're sitting up on top of the hill.
and then everyone can respond and everyone else can give additional
But they,
edits.
there's water, there's like 2 layers of water. Dinosaurs.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you for the invite.
You have a standing invite.
I know, I do. Should come more.
We have this done every Thursday. Every
No,
Thursday of the month.
one Thursday a month. Let's-
Is that the first, every first Thursday of the month?
This the area plan that we talked?
Yes, that's sushi.
Oh, really? Yeah. I say you're like area plan, no one. Don't feel bad. I say 2 others, 3 others, and I don't have anybody for them either.
I thought Sky attended your.
Oh, no, I gotta take that back. I have a health, so only 2.
Yeah. I think he's been.
I've been there for.
Well, I don't survey, but I just
Oh.
give him.
Unless we're really doing a project.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is, do you, because when I have checked your agenda, if there is a development that I need to attend,
Yeah.
like the.
Yeah, I populated.
Yeah.
I used to populate a little bit more, but when we are talking about something specific, it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
We don't have anything to
Yeah.
talk about.
Because if there is
Jessica.
an item in the county that I,
Put that down.
let me know and I will be here.
No problem. And I can tell you, very rarely do people actually come to the district to ask for, or to ask for permission
Oh,
to
yeah.
extend sewer, extend whatever. Every now and again, it's happening, but
What they're just
I got it.
developing with the assumption that they can.
they do it without,
No. Assumption they could use some.
well, they're. Say, I'm just trying to think of a recent development, I'll take an old one, say Farmington Hills had sewer, but it's in the county. In theory, they needed to have come to the district, to ask permission to extend the sewer to serve Farmington Hills and get the district's approval to do so prior to actually starting that process, but they don't sometimes. Sometimes they do.
If you would like to, I mean, for future, if you'd like to formalize that, like if we have a rezoning come forward. That says, oh yeah, we're gonna use the district. If you want us to require them to come here,
I said, in the ordinance, there is language in the ordinance that they are supposed to be
Yeah.
contacting us.
The city of South Bend, Mishawaka, anytime they want to extend into the county, they have to get our sign. Really no exception.
Because our jurisdiction is all unincorporated portions of St. Joseph County.
right, I guess, rather than being the last thought. If you want me to tie it into the rezoning process and require them to
Yeah.
like come here prior to.
Or that their engineer would,
That
their
would
engineer
be-
reaches out to us, that happens.
I want to say right now, it's under probably something.
Okay,
Language.
well, because that's what I'm looking, because you said that there's language about.
It is in there. It may not be in the rezoning. I don't recall if we're in the rezoning, but I know we're in the feature. But to your question though, are you basically saying whether or not someone even installs a septic system, they should be? See, that's where I
I mean, again, state authority, and that's one thing that I think as we go fall between projects and they don't become apparent. You have the authority to plan and develop and grow. That's within your purview. And to force people to connect and to push sewer. That's why you exist. You're not the St. Joseph Regional Septic and Water System Committee. You're the sewer board. And it is your purview to grow it. It is your purview to, it is within state statute for you to do this. Now, is it pushed? No, because it's expensive and it's hard to do and people backlash and it's politically not correct. But yes, I mean, your map is all in incorporated St. Joseph County.
And if it was individual approved by the health department septics, we don't want anything to do.
If you're not in that area, there's no way of providing service. But when you think about Granger, it may be that there's a new development half a mile from where you already are.
right.
If you're not
it's a
seeing that
full
development, you are
that
not able to
should-
make that decision to say, yes, we should extend to that.
I would say a full development, yeah, we probably should have that conversation, because we should also have the cluster system conversation. Is it big enough? Does it make more sense?
Well,
I think that's what Abby's saying, right? I think if you look at that strategic goal, it is about how do you reduce overall dependence on on-site wastewater septic systems?
Right.
Which means central processing, right?
Exactly. It's not so much how it gets collected, it's what's the end of the pipe. Is it
So,
a cluster system setup like East Point or like Mark's got? I mean, you're basically a giant cluster system. Well-maintained cluster system.
Right.
the subdivision ordinance does require, it does have the feasibility study of connection that goes through, however, that report goes to the health department. In theory, they probably should be copying us as well. Because I think, because you guys are looking at it, if you're within X amount of feet, correct, of a municipal system, that's when you start looking to where then they need to connect to South Bend or connect to Mishawaka or whatever system might be adjacent to there. But technically, we also should be looking at it because whether or not they're within that 300 feet, there still may be an economic reason
Right.
to want to have sewer to that development.
And I think.
That would be
Abby's-
outside of the health department saying it needs to have sewer.
And I think Abby's offering. I think Abby's saying that's part of that, because I mean, a major subdivision is really what you're gonna gear up for. You're right,
Right,
you're not gonna gear up for one house. Right, but you're gonna gear up for a 20 or 30 or 60 or 100 unit development.
Yeah.
And
And
whether
it's
you
better
go to a
because
partner or you do it, what you did in Wyatt, you develop your own system, whatever it is. But I think you need to be notified of it, and I think Abby's offering it.
Yeah, and I apologize, Jessica, if that was an oversight.
Yeah. No, I think kind of what we're talking about now, though, is a slightly different kind of perspective of what historically we've looked at ourselves as. Now, Granger was a little bit different. Granger did have that economic component also tied to it, just because it was more that the vitality and potential for future growth. We wanted to provide opportunities for those properties to be able to develop in the future. But most of our projects have been more focused on the health-based side of our mission and our goals of why the district was set up. And it was, if there was an area that needed help and couldn't be served municipally, the district could step in and help fill that gap. I mean, that's kind of what it was founded on, but the mission does have a dual description in there with economic growth opportunities and the health and a health need.
And
So,
your friend Steven was a big advocate of that economic portion is important. And
as well.
And we saw that at the developers meeting the builders meeting that we went to, right? Not every single one of them was like, it's available, can you bring it? I'm not.
That's what I mean, just I was under the wrong assumption that like, if a subdivision is filed and it's not if it's close to something that you could service, and it's not, there's a reason why, because every developer that has come to me wants to be on utilities.
Well, and the thing is with the district, and it's not that we're serving them, it is we are giving them an opportunity to get served.
Yep.
We can help facilitate funding to help make it happen, but it still then is whether or not they can connect to a municipal system. Because we also don't really want a lot of individual wastewater treatment plants throughout our community either.
No.
So we're trying to work with
It- it-
existing service providers to make it happen, but we have the ability to help finance a project.
You do.
Yes.
And that's where our benefit comes in. We are never going to be cheaper because we're a third party. And there's going to be additional fees to make that happen. But we give them the avenue to be able to fund their project in a way that might make it more economically feasible in a business model.
And it sets up a subdivision, if it has a central collector, to easily transition into that municipal sewer when it does become
Might be.
available at some.
Thankfully with Carriage Hills, City of South Bend was already sewering, servicing part of that area. There was a gravity system. It made it very easy that is a system that then they can absorb and take on in perpetuity once that loan is paid off. We don't necessarily have that option everywhere, unfortunately, but we'd love to do that where we can, and it makes sense for them as well.
Right, the two neighborhoods that are being developed on Fur Road, just south of the state line and north of Adams Road. I mean, ultimately, there are gonna be several homes there. I don't know if that's Adams Road Development or whoever it is, but was cluster septic system ever talked about, to your point, Don? No, I'm sure every one of those is gonna be individual.
Those are all just on-site septics, right, Mark? Sorry,
What's that?
the new develop, I don't know the names of them because I didn't have to review the
Yeah.
plans.
Right.
The new neighborhoods up on actually it's not Fir, Clover, right at the state line.
Adams Road Development, both on the west and east side.
Those in Michigan, or they are-
No, Indiana, just
No,
south.
yeah,
of the state
they're
line.
in Indiana, they're right at the state line,
Yeah.
yeah. Huge homes.
Yeah.
They're
Off-
massive.
off Fur Road.
Massive, and there's nothing blocking them. There's not like vegetation or anything.
No,
It's
no.
like,
We're delivering incredibly expensive door for packages. It's like,
But-
holy crap.
But at the end of the day, we didn't even get a chance to look at it, so there wouldn't have been any discussion for cluster septic system.
Well, I have can I ask a clarifying question about, George, you said like the district could pretty much weigh in on any development in the county. It's not just within like the service territories, but it's the whole.
yeah,
Okay.
because their service territories.
Unincorporated.
Unincorporated.
Right, of
Yes,
course.
unincorporated.
But
parts.
yes, within the county, the
We are
districts.
district, we are
sewer-
countywide.
That's right, the water and sewer district,
They
state
don't-
statute empowers them. They can expand the service territories, they can start a new service territory. They started with nothing.
So not just within the service territory.
Our-
but within the
correct.
entire.
Our jurisdiction is
Not
countywide.
counting the.
We establish sub-districts for service. Because they have to be self-sufficient. Every sub-district has to be economically self-sufficient of themselves.
So as a district, we're countywide. As we do projects, we create a sub-district for
That has
that
defined boundaries.
particular area. We define the box it lives in.
And we are able to expand those boundaries, but it takes some administrative.
Abby, sometimes that means new infrastructure, sometimes it means a connection to a municipal. The preference is to connect to an existing municipal.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And become that financial bridge to help that happen when the municipality wouldn't necessarily be able to.
Right.
In theory, you could have a situation where in a particular part of the county, we have over 2 decades, 700 houses on different clusters. And suddenly it's kind of like you look at the maintenance cost and you go, you know what? We could probably put a treatment plant in here and look, there's a place to put up the water. And then you would say, all right, let's get a treatment plant in there and give them a permanent solution that way. But I won't be.
And then there are gonna be places in the county where
Never-
none of those solutions are gonna be
That's
feasible, and on-site septic is going to be the best, most economical solution and a satisfactory solution.
But on those two developments, it would have been nice to be able to be notified and the district could have said, look, we have no economic way. Is there any consideration to a cluster septic system? Did you know that Mr. Ackridge would love to have municipal utilities? Bradford Shores was developed, obviously all with city sewer, city water. So you would look at it if it made sense, but
Yeah, but it'd be nice to be able to just have that option to look at and have that discussion.
To really think about it that way before.
What's that?
I said, we haven't as a district, I'll say, think about it from that perspective before, when a development comes in, they're on sites on there, and it's just gonna be an on-site septic. We never really considered, should we even think about that first, or do we think about it differently? We were just like, oh, it's septic's not ours, before about it.
Yeah,
But I think for the
one-off
long term.
septics are not your,
Right.
let them be.
Right.
Inspecting septics, not your purview. But it is at the beginning when you have new construction, especially
Right.
density, larger development. I think that's 100%.
Well, and if the district had been
Department
formed,
wants to get away from on-site septics and move to more of a municipal type of setup, then any new subdivision really should be seriously looked at as a potential for, can we get it connected somewhere more?
strategic plan.
Can we get ourselves set up so that the clusters there, so we're central collection for down the road? I mean, I was in Toledo last week down in Perrysburg, and they got cornfields going under and houses going up. All. Then Perrysburg is obviously pushing sewers out all over the place to catch it all. We don't have cities that are willing to do that.
Basically, where this would have been perfect is if we rewind the clock and the district was formed prior to Granger ever developing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you would have had this type of
Yeah.
discussion and analysis with the Granger development. We wouldn't have the issue and the concerns that we have about the future of those communities.
Yeah.
Because maybe we would have been a little more strategic, thinking about either a cluster system or figuring out how we get municipal services there, knowing that all this development's going to be.
At the time, I can remember. that my
There's
dad
farm
going,
fields as far
"Nobody's
as you
gonna
can
wanna
see."
move all the way out there.
but Clay Utilities was in Carriage Hills and in Farmington Square before Knollwood ever started. So it was
Was that Clay Utilities?
Clay Utilities,
Oh my God.
Homer Federline,
Over.
good old Homer. So there was utilities out there, but there was no discussion
But that's
about
what I'm
trying to
saying. But the
extend.
district would have been that catalyst to have those discussions,
Right.
or could have been in theory,
Right.
in that sense.
So it kind
by
of goes
looking
back,
at it
it
that
kind
way.
of goes back to the two developed neighborhoods on Fur Road. If we at least know about it, have that discussion. But again, we don't know. I didn't know it was happening until I saw dirt.
Well, it's been a bit of a free-for-all out there. I mean, it took me until I started doing this to realize that Granger is not an organized municipality. Right? It's just part of the county.
So
It's a zip code,
disorganized.
just like Wyatt's, a zip code.
All
That
started
blows
with
your mind.
Everyone says it's
Most
not
dens-
Wyatt, like
the-
not a
The
town.
most densely populated area in St. Joe County. It's just part of the county. That's all of it.
Well, and I don't think anybody realized when it started, it was a golf course development. And then it just never stopped.
And it's not stopping.
It
talking
slowed
about
down a
those-
little bit. It slowed down in the late thousands. We had maybe one subdivision in 4 years. And then it's picked back up again.
Yeah, it's
Right, right.
Yeah.
But no, from basically 1990 through 2005,
Yeah,
it was an explosion, right?
Thank you for the lively discussion.
Sorry to derail your normal meeting.
No.
Thank you for having
That's okay. We need the excitement once in a while. Otherwise, we're only here for half an hour.
Sometimes 17 minutes.
Something's right, that's our record.
Great, I think I can do some refinement based on the discussion tonight and then send it to everyone on the email list.
That's great. Thanks,
Thank
Sandy.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. You're welcome anytime.
And you're always, I was gonna say, you're always welcome.
And again,
And
if
Sean.
there's, I mean, I will pay attention to when. a
If you wanna
developer's
copy me
coming.
on some mechanism that shows what's getting up for review or that. type
Of
thing,
course. But if I need to get here for a discussion about a potential development, absolutely, you just let me know.
Because in theory, we probably should be part of the PUTs if you're.
I know, well, that was a thought.
And maybe we should have a little working group. That group. work our way through those kind of things and figure out where we really want to go.
Oh.
it's here.
All right, never mind.
I don't know, it magically appeared on my desk.
Okay, yeah, I talked to Sherry, I was like, I called. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right, Mr. President, where are we at?
All right, well, I guess we'll go back to our agenda. So we don't have any requests for extension of municipal service.
Covered those.
Yeah, kinda did.
I do have one, although it's not a request for extension of service, it's a request for waiver. You want me to do that now?
Please.
Oh, somebody, okay, yeah.
Full disclosure, the firm represents Buckingham Companies. They are doing the multifamily, multi-phase development over on Douglas at 933 near Notre Dame. Kevin, can you put that up on screen, that site plan for me?
Jessica, can you give me privileges to share my screen?
I believe they,
Try.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
they can click share.
See.
I think they've been working with you.
They have.
They've been working with the city for connection to sewer and
Try that.
And
Is that also Dustin Brown?
so the developer, Ryan
Hijacked
Gallmeyer
our meeting.
of Buckingham Properties, emailed me the other day saying he would like to, let me read it to you exactly.
Is that in the uncomfortable?
I understand from Mike, what's that?
Sorry.
That's okay. I understand from Mike Dance, you may be the person I need to contact regarding Buckingham's proposed development at the northeast corner of State Road 933 and Douglas Road called Northern Edge. We are working with the city of South Bend to provide sanitary sewer and water to the project and will be requesting for the county to allow the city to provide services. Please let me know if you have a few moments to discuss. I said there's no reason to discuss. I'll just bring up your waiver request. Jacob can fill in the board on the waiver request.
Where's the Roseland town limits? Or are they?
North of
to
that,
The north.
yeah.
Are
This
they
is
just
all
north
Notre
of
Dame.
there?
Yeah, this is all Notre Dame.
This is within Roseland, within the area that used to be served by Clay Utilities that the city took over years ago. All of the sewer is anticipated to go toward Cripe Street. They will be served by water off of Cripe Street as well, and they will be adding connections. So if the university ever continues to develop east along Douglas, that they can expand and extend that water service if it's needed. Specific to this development, they do have a sanitary pump station that they will be maintaining. That is not going to be the city's. The city will only handle the gravity once it comes to the edge of their site and they discharge to the city. So for us, the sewer is going to be maintained from the gravity part to us, but everything on property and as far as the sanitary pump station will be maintained by the University of Buckingham.
So from that pump station out, is their problem from the pump station that?
Yeah, any of the gravity is ours. That they're gonna make gravity off of the property. And then any of the water that carries through will be municipal water, because if there's a break, we need to be able to maintain that.
It's Cripe to the north.
Right, just to the north, yes. Yeah, but it's basically private sewer through the pump station. Once that discharge hits, then we take it over from that point. So we didn't want to maintain another pump station.
They're not really extending, are they extending facilities there? Or they're just connecting into a facility that already
They'll be
exists?
connecting to an existing facility on Cripe. So they'll be extending a small portion of gravity line into the property.
That's where that's.
But but it's county,
It is county property, I think, because we
So we
reviewed
do
the site
have-
plans for these. That's what I was curious what their actual site address is, because
It'd be unincorporated, because it won't be in
I've
the town of
seen
Roseland.
216 Cripe is how it's been referred
see,
to.
that's what that was
That's-
my.
That's town of
concern.
Roseland.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why
I don't think it's
I'm like,
coming off Douglas, isn't it? Is everything coming off Douglas?
There will be an entrance off of Douglas, and there will also be an entrance off of 933. You can also gain access to the property through the development that they built to the east.
Graduate housing that they got, I think.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, please need a motion and a second.
I think it's a wash either way. And
Three
semantics
hundred and
is
seventy-four multi-units, 12,000 commercial and 5,000
wave it to be.
commercial outlots.
Would you like something in writing or is a motion? with
I
the
think a
minutes?
motion with the minutes is ample. I think that's what we've done in the
That's what
past.
we've always done in the past, yeah.
Well, I
That's,
Yeah, and
appreciate that.
no, I need a motion.
I move that the development as proposed and how it's being provided as services is acceptable to the district.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is this yet to start this year?
They need to finalize their water sewer agreement with us, but I think they intend to break ground. It's gonna take some time for them to, yeah, it's gonna be a couple of years.
Very exciting.
Jacob, did you encourage them to take this step?
I have from the start that they should at least acknowledge the district to make them aware of their intent.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do that with multiple developers, just because a lot of times we get contacted from the city, hey, are utilities available? And I say, no, but you might touch base with the county, especially for stuff that is further east that would be Mishawaka
Right.
district that I'm aware of. That we might. So,
Thank you for that. If we can just get a plan and
Yeah,
we got the engineering to do that, we could,
be,
huh? Yeah.
It's what?
But it's a simple,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's a simple process.
it's just getting them to,
It's just a, right.
It's just an extra sentence when you're talking to somebody.
Well, and you can't.
And
make
it's on their
strategic-
checklist. They are supposed to.
Right.
You can't
check.
make strategic decisions if you don't know.
right,
Right.
I mean, likewise, you know, the health department contacts us if somebody's within 300 feet of us. There are times where we advise that individual that it's gonna cost you more money to build sewer that far. Now, everybody on that block wanted it, and you went in together and you split the bill, it's one thing. But for some of these homes, it's gonna cost them more than the value of their home to extend sewer services to get there. And when you put that on paper to them, they understand, okay, I gotta just replace my septic and I don't go down the road, but you know, I realize that there are a number of areas throughout the county that are failing, but we may not be able to serve them yet. Right, cities, so.
all right, now we can move into projects, you think from Granger that we missed?
So the only thing, there were rezoning signs on that Bittersweet Trail north of 23. So did that go back through infrastructure and planning? Is that another proposed multifamily development?
I haven't seen any. There hasn't been any official site plan since we've been notified on it, so.
Okay. And the only reason I say that, those rezoning signs that were out there were new. So I gotta believe it's in their office.
It's coming to them, but
So I brought up the PAT, I don't remember what it stands for now. It's a kind of a pre-development meeting that area plan encourages developers and persons that are looking to be rezoned or whatever, they go through a meeting with a lot of the county officials. I think several of you have either already participated in one or serve on it. We could request to be part of that, and if somebody wanted to volunteer to attend those, but they are typically the Thursdays of their T-TAC committees, the plat committees. Are gonna be at, well, the T-TAC is at 8:30, so they're usually about 9 o'clock in the morning, that type of thing.
I
I'm
will
not
say,
aware if they're doing it virtually. I don't know, Jacob, if you've participated in any of those,
I have not, but.
or if they are, they were in person, but post-COVID.
They're
I don't know
still
what-
doing virtual.
Do they do virtual?
Yeah.
That makes it a little easier.
I
But
would
we
say,
could push that, because if nothing else, at least we know what is being proposed.
Right.
Because I think all major developments, I think, are required to go through the PAT now. I know Mr. Matthews has been to them.
Yeah, I had a client that applied for something
They had to go to
and had to go through that.
the.
I would be fine to serve on in some capacity to try to amend those, or at least be notified of them to see if there's anything that impacts us.
And I was gonna say, I'm looking for stuff to do next year, because I ain't going anywhere. So.
Well,
There you go.
but we could reach out to Abby and see if we
Do
can find.
we need to make a motion on that?
My retirement, no, it's set in stone.
Weekly or bi-weekly, monthly.
I think I know, it's on my calendar. I can't remember the plat committees are.
Every,
they're once a month?
2 weeks.
So they're every 2 weeks, that's, yeah. But I don't know if they have a PAT every 2 weeks. They only have a PAT when they have business
Yep.
to discuss at them.
Yeah, they'll send out an email if you get on their email list.
So, I mean, I can reach out to Abby and if you don't mind, I
Yeah,
can share.
share my email at the city, and then
And that will help because then, so we
Give us a heads up.
kind of get upfront thinking more strategically when those developments are occurring. Still may not change their solution, but there may come a time where it could say, hey, wait a minute, we've got this going on, or we know South Bend has this going on. Let's have a bigger conversation. Still, the property at Bittersweet in Cleveland did get approved for rezoning. And in theory, there should be a request to the district.
There should be. If it's
I
gonna.
mean,
be
it hasn't gone through a site plan process yet, so, cause they had to go through the rezoning first. That one, very interesting to me.
So, Carriage Hills. Anything there? Well, Wyatt, anybody got anything for Wyatt?
Silence,
What's that?
silence there,
Silence, okay,
which
good.
is a good thing.
On road. My favorite district. Well, we heard from Mary Plan, so that was kind of nice, surveyor help and help and hearing.
Check, I think are all the lots in Audubon Woods developed now? And they have
They're-
really built out.
Pretty close, pretty close.
They're pretty close. There's still, I think, a couple that yet need to be developed.
And then, county engineer, we don't worry about.
Yeah.
Old business. A new business. Kind of knocked all that up. Ruben's still for. A motion to adjourn.
I
Move.
second that.
All in favor? Stand up.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for the comments on the comprehensive plan. I just felt that she needed to come here.
Yeah.